Behind the Shades.
It always seems that I hear that word manifestation. Well, I'm going to manifest this, I'm going to manifest that. Take us through, what does that actually mean? So break it down to as simplest terms for those who may not know.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. Manifestation can mean a lot of different things to different people, but at its core, basically what it is the process of taking a thought and making it reality. So it's, the essence of magic. It's all of the wonderment that happens. It's that, coincidence or that synchronicity where you're like, oh, I was just thinking about you. And then they call. Some people would say, oh, I just manifested that phone call. Or, when you're looking for that perfect job and you're pounding the pavement and all of a sudden you just end up in an interview for the perfect job. And that's all a process of manifestation. And in a psychological or neuroscience kind of way to talk about it, because I love to geek out on that as well. It's the process of our reticular activating system. So that's a part of our brain that is literally the focus gland. Like it's the part of our brain that filters out elements of the world around us and tells us this is what you need to pay attention to, because we know there's so much that we get bombarded with on a daily basis, and now even more so with smartphones and social media and mass connectedness, that our brains are incredibly efficient at narrowing stuff down. Because if we were paying attention to all the stimuli that we have coming at us every day constantly, we would go insane. There's no way we could handle it. So it prioritizes, right? It prioritizes the things that it shows us and has, oh, hey, by the way, you need to pay attention. So like if somebody calls your name in a crowded room, you hear it, even though you're not hearing anything else that person just said, because your brain, your reticular activated system said, oh, that's important. Here, pay attention. So when you're in a process of manifestation, you're feeding your brain very clear signals about what it is you want it to look for. And then it goes out and finds them. And it finds all these things that you never would have noticed otherwise. Right? You never pay attention to it until that moment, right? It never happens until you stop looking for it, kind of thing. Well, that's when you've gotten really clear and then you let the universe or life or your reticular activating system do its job. When you're super, super clear on something, you can manifest it. So it's just a lot of bringing that thought form into reality. And then from a metaphysical side, which I also like to talk about, it's an energetics thing. And we know now from science that everything is vibration. Everything has a frequency, a harmonics, if you will. Everything has an energy, all the atoms operating on their own energetic field. So when you align yourself energetically with something, then you can bring it into reality. That's quantum physics in action.
In my 20s, because you mentioned manifestation and you mentioned focusing on something, in my 20s, I was convinced I was going to get married once I finished school. So here in Canada, you graduated post secondary about 22, 23, right? And it was something that I wanted so bad because I grew up without having a family that I can call my own. I didn't know my mother, my father growing up. I was raised by my grandmother, and that's a story for another topic, right? And I wanted this family, wanted this family, I wanted this family. So, in a sense, I was manifesting it because I was so hyper focused on this. Train, you graduate school, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And the girlfriend that I had at the time, she's just along for the ride, right? And I began to realize that I was losing myself in these thoughts of being married, to the point where afterwards, I realized, hey, this person isn't the right person to share in that manifestation. Is that something that happens to some of the clients that you deal with? And can that happen in general?
All the time. All the time. This is why people get so frustrated with things like the law of attraction and the secret and manifestation practices in general. They feel like it doesn't work when the reality is that happen it works all the time. We manifest all the time. When you wake up late and you spill your coffee and you can't find a parking space and you get into work and there's a meeting you forgot about and you're not prepared for and everything, and you just go, oh my God, the worst day ever. And then that just keeps repeating, right? Like you just find all more reasons for it to be the worst day ever. And that's because you decided it was, you told your brain it was, and now it's finding everything to reinforce that to you. And so you're manifesting a bad day. Whereas there's been plenty of days where you've woken up late and you've spilled the coffee and you couldn't find a parking space and all that jazz, but you turned it around. Something happened and you're like, all right, well, I got this. I can figure this out, and it's not so bad anymore. That it's all manifestation. What happens in the instance you're talking about and where people are like just totally stuck or it doesn't feel like it's working, there's a couple things. First of all, you have to be really clear about what it is you're trying to manifest. That old adage, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. Totally the case in this, because you can say, I want to get married, or I want to be in a relationship, or I want to make more money. And you can be in a relationship. You can get married. You can get a new job. But none of those things are necessarily what you actually wanted, which you find out after the fact, right? Because you just said, I want this. You weren't clear about it. Why do you want to be married? What is it that marriage means to you? You were talking about having the family, but were you thinking about that when you were really focused on getting married? Maybe not. What does family mean to you? What is it that this whole relationship is meant to be? What is the feeling behind it? Is it just for that sense of community and belonging, or was there more to it? And you have to be really dialed into that. It takes a lot of self-reflection. There's also belief work that we get into, but that's a whole topic that we don't have time for. So you have to be really clear, because you can say, I want to have more money. And tomorrow you find a dollar bill on the ground. Congratulations, you just manifested more money. Wasn't what you wanted, right? It wasn't what you really wanted, but that's what you asked for. You were not clear on what is more money to you. Is it just more take-home pay? Is it less debt? Is it secure in retirement? Is it investment? Like, there's so much that can be under that umbrella. So you need to be very clear, and you need to be clear and honest with yourself, because none of it's good or bad, right? We assign meaning to that based off of societal, cultural, life experience things. None of it's good or bad, but you have to be clear before you're going to get anywhere. Another problem that people run into is they get so fixated on the form. And this is kind of plays into what I was just talking about. So you got so fixated on getting married. And for a long time, you probably associated that with the girlfriend that you had because she was, there. And so that was where you were going for. And you were fixated on her, even though she may not have been the best person. So any problems that were in the relationship, any mismatches in your personality, you kind of just glossed over because you were going to get married and she was there. And so that was obviously the path. When we get so fixated on this form, right? We haven't been clear about what we're asking for. We don't really understand why we want it, but we're so clear that one thing, that one person, that one relationship, that one job, that one house, that one car, right? That one total in the bank account or amount of take-home pay is absolutely going to solve all our problems. And that's the thing. Well, now you're missing out on all of the things that you don't know, right? There could be something right around the corner that is exactly what you need, what you want, what you've always dreamt of, and you didn't really realize it, but you've closed yourself off from seeing it because you are focused on that one end result, and it can only be that. And so you won't see the other opportunities. You won't see the twists and turns and the development of yourself that goes along with what it is you actually are desiring, what you truly want to manifest. Because if we were the people who would be able to have these manifestations that we wanted to, we would already have them. We have to accept that there's a certain amount of growth and involvement and change in ourselves that has to happen before we're going to manifest what we truly desire.